Good day. Today we're talking about a very big subject. Comprehensive straw technique. And you know what? It'll change your life.
Yeah, for the good. So, some of you avid listeners might remember the time when our lights exploded when we tried to record a video about straw technique. So, having tried numerous times to do that, we gave up and decided just to make it into just a regular podcast. So here we are. But before we get into that very exciting content, we have some music from Emma McGrath.
Yeah, I just think there's something you're not feeling, even though you know it's there. So just sit here with me, close your eyes, let the world just pass you by. Feel your heart, your breathing, but don't say a word.
So what was that invoking you? That sort of music?
Holding hands with people.
Anyone? Everyone
In the fields.
Okay. I saw her. That's Emma McGrath. I don't know how you say it. Emma McGrath.
I'm not sure.
I saw her at a charity concert recently.
How old is she? She looks...
She's young. She's like 50. Well, I think now she's 16. Then she would be 15.
Right.
But she writes all her own songs. They're really good songs. She goes on tour, not just in the UK, but she's starting to go international and stuff. So at a really young age, she's getting recognised for her good songwriting.
Yeah, because it is.
And she's won awards for it, and it's being recognised around the world. So good on her is what I say.
Yeah.
So
watch this space.
Go and check her out. Her details will appear on the screen, but will also be in the blog.
Right on. So we're talking about the straw, and what we will say in this next passage, before we go into facts and myths, you might want to run and get your straws. You might want to run and grab a couple, whatever you've got lying around at home, because we're going to be doing some demoing, some activities, some games.
So if you don't have any lying around, in an ideal world, you'd be sort of listening to this podcast in a cocktail bar. But
ideal.
It's possible. It's possible.
So,
fact and myth, are we getting into that now then?
Let's do that, shall we? Yeah, this is a new feature that we're bringing in because we feel like we need to bring a lot of talk. We have a lot of talk about our opinions on subjects, ways we think things can help, strategies to help singers, but actually there are some facts in the world also that cannot be changed and or viewed differently. And one of those facts, Christopher, is that during an average day, a female's vocal folds will oscillate over 1 million times.
Do you want me to tailor a reaction to that?
Please? How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's a big number, isn't it? But is it true? Don't know. Is it a fact?
It's in a book somewhere. It's in a lot of books. That
Truth.
One. Yeah.
Truth.
If it's in a book.
Obviously, if they've been chatting, if they're quite chatty, if they're a teacher.
No, I don't know.
Oh, but I guess it's just another thing they've beat us on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be a competition all the time?
It's not. It doesn't have to be.
Okay. Should we get on to the myth then?
Yep.
Good.
So myth. Let me read the myth for you. Nasal resonance contributes to your clarity.
Of what? Clarity of thoughts or
clarity of
suddenly I can think clearer.
I love the way I just read it. Just have no thought. Just
you typed it and thought, I'll know what that means.
Yeah.
I'll know what it means.
Clarity in voice, in expression, in tone, probably.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that. They think that this is nasal resonance is what it's all about. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
Chris?
I did, for those avid fans again, you would have noticed the blog that I wrote on that recently, but just to clarify, it's been proven many times that nasal resonance is not a factor in singing, really. Especially when you include like sinuses as well. It's actually a killer of tone. It's a dull murmur, as Ingo puts it. There's been many studies to prove that the nasal cavities don't reinforce harmonics specifically, and lots of studies anyway, and lots of talk about nasal resonance is very much like due to classical, or in the classical arena. But then some singers say they feel resonance in their nose or vibrations in their nose when they're singing, which is, we can't deny the sensations of it. Does that mean that the nasal cavities are reinforcing sound? No. It's highly likely to mean that there's a lot of reinforcement of sound waves in the vocal tract, and that those energy waves are travelling through bone and tissue.
It feels
namely the face, and it usually points back to the fact that the vocal folds are efficiently vibrating. If you can feel that there, you're producing a lot of power if you can feel that.
So maybe what we're saying is, if you feel it, you're onto a good thing, but don't chase it.
Yeah, don't try and put it there because it's not necessarily coming from there. However, I would like to say that in future we can provide some more information on this. Because Dr. Sundberg has done some sort of looking into this, and some singers, again, a bit more classically orientated, who produce a lot of vocal energy, may sometimes use the nose as a way of attenuating the power of the voice, to dampen it a little bit, just to reinforce the point that it's not a resonator, it's more of a dampener. So if someone has far too much volume, they may actually use nasality to dissipate that volume, which can be helpful for a singer, but again, it's still I think it's still up for discussion. Yeah. But again, is it relevant for everyone? I don't really think so. I think we should just put it to bed.
Yeah, move on.
Get a new.
And on that note, we should probably move on.
Yeah.
Straws in a minute. First up, survey.
We would like to just mention that we have taken heed of the survey. It was very insightful. Just so you know, nobody over 55 filled out the survey. What does that say about our podcast? Just in a quick...
We're really hip.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's more like they're too old to operate a computer.
Oh.
So, and my thing there is, if I insult a few of them, maybe they'll be compelled to write a review, because they probably do listen. They just don't know how to do it. /what.
So if you're over the age of 55 and you are an avid listener and you're offended by what Chris just said, please fill out the survey, and in one of the boxes, I'm sure there's one there that says slag Chris off. Just put in there, you're an idiot. Just couldn't be bothered. I had better things to do. But as you asked,
like retirement,
here I am.
However, we did get a lot of information. A lot of you guys are pros, coaches, or advanced singers. Really keen to hear from more guests in voice science, technique as well, riffing. Lots of different subjects. But obviously, if none of those are of interest to you, then you didn't fill out the survey. All right, so. If you really want to hear about something completely different to technique science and advanced singing, then go to the nakedvocalist.com/survey and then tell us what you do want, and we'll get it arranged. We'll bring those subjects to this. So that's all we have to say about that.
Really helpful. Really helpful with the coffee. Now let's get into why we're here. Why are we here, Chris? So...
little bit of a straw fight. We've never done that before, have we? No, really, because it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll do it forever now, I think.
So there's been some advancements in the research behind the straw, and this is why we've now found out that it is really, really good for singers, right?
Don't play that down.
But just before we start, though, we must give credit to your boy. I mean, the guys.
Dr. Teetsay, he said people keep crediting me for inventing the straw, and he's quite clear that I didn't invent the straw. But you're right. He's been amazingly integral in taking forward the research in it, right?
Yeah. And his team, his daughter Karen Tietze Cox. You know, I sat in two of her workshops in LA last couple of weeks.
Just want to throw that in.
When she was talking about this research and how they are trying to spread the word about the straw, because it is just so beneficial.
Yeah. 100%. So why is it so beneficial then? What does it do?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. I think before we get into that, we need to talk about what it is a singer is looking for, right? What we're looking for efficient, healthy singing, because then that will make it easier to understand how the straw works.
Yes.
So as a singer, what we're really looking for is two things, that's all, nothing else, just two. One is a cracking vocal fold position.
Right.
And the second is what's referred to as self-oscillation, which is when the folds are just doing their thing without being manhandled too much.
Or kind of, the opposite to that is forced oscillation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you actually have to drive at them with airflow to make them sustain vibration or sustain sound, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's a bit. You think of it like one way that we explain it is a flag in the wind. You know, the wind blows and it just moves, and that's what we want our folds to do. And it's we're aware that the vocal fold position is very it's going to move around, but there are three.
Sort of rough configurations
of what we're looking for, and then we can probably stick up a little diagram on the video right about now of these three, and we're really looking for this healthy, efficient sound. We're really looking for this square-like configuration, which is recruiting a combination of the muscle fibers in the folds, as opposed to, as you say, modal,
which is very much just kind of excessive bottom adduction, which we'll show on the diagram,
falsetto,
which is essentially just too much of the chest voice muscle, if you like, or mechanism being involved, and not enough of the ligament, which is on the top side. Yeah. And then the opposite to that, is falsetto or head voice, or depending on which kind of continent you're on, you know, they call it that. And that's very much like no TA activity for your nerdy people, no modal register in that. It's very much just the ligament contacting on the vocal folds. Not very square at all. You know, the modal's almost like divergent. But the one we want in between is
not convergent,
not too convergent, but just kind of almost square. So and that's the mixed configuration.
Yeah, that's it, and that's what that's the feeling. The feeling you'll get from that is when things are good, when things are feeling healthy, feeling efficient. If you're not looking for that kind of sound as a singer, if you're not looking for a healthy, efficient sound, then don't worry about this. but that's really what we're chasing here, and so those two things are really what we're looking for to try and create the self-oscillation and the vocal fold positioning. And imagine if there was something in the world that really helped with that really helped to create that environment.
Coincidence? Is that what it is?
Just
cool, you got two, so greedy. But there is, thank God.
Oh yeah!
Yes, straw therapy.
So what's the crack then?
Well, we're gonna kill you.
Okay.
with benefits, that is, and possibly information in a short space of time. But the straw is a part of the semi-occluded vocal tract exercise group, SOVTs, right?
Yeah, I'm bored already. I'm bored.
It slightly occludes the vocal tract, doesn't let as much airflow or acoustic energy out, which, for the first benefit, that builds oral pressure, as you'll notice if you do it. Like the cheeks will kind of instinctively want to puff out from the building pressure in there. And one of the benefits is that oral pressure can push back and kind of equalise the pressure from the lungs, or partly equalise it. Which means the vocal folds don't have to do the whole job of holding back lung pressure, you know, dealing with excessive volume if you're that kind of singer who uses too much air. So the straw
is common.
Yes, super common. So the straw is a way of like relieving the vocal folds of that job so they can function better. That you can stretch them better and they can gain better muscle memory by stretching and sirening up and down.
Ace.
So that's one
Benefit one.
Okay.
Benefit two
Yeah.
is the reflection of energy back to the source. Well, not the source if we're being really particular about it, because I know that Karen and Inga would shoot us in the head if we get things like that wrong.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of getting stuff wrong today. Just in terms of what the scientists would say. But,
Are we going to have a little pop-up saying, don't quote me?
Yeah.
Or just quote me and I'll just apologise later?
I don't think it needs to pop up. Just keep it on permanently. Just it's ballpark. But no, yeah, the reflections back to the source. We don't really want to get into formants and harmonics right now, and how that really helps with this self oscillation and the vocal fold positioning. But please just trust us in that the postures that it creates will help with that reflection.
Yes, and when we say source, we mean vocal folds.
Right.
So it's the source of sound.
You've got it, man.
And I think it's good to point out as well that self-oscillation, that is kind of generated because acoustic energy is like oscillatory. It's things in vibration.
Right.
Which means they go backwards and forwards, or in this case, they can kind of push and pull.
Yeah.
Which helps the vocal folds action of open and close. And that's why they help each other.
It's in sync. But this is an interesting thing, though, is I've heard Ingo said before, and Karen mentioned it as well, is that if you really start to think about it, as a singer, all this stuff can seem very foreign. But just as an insight into the way that, I don't want to pigeonhole all scientists, but the way that scientists think is that, in reference to this, everything is an oscillation in life.
Yeah, what do they say? Except for migration.
That's it. When you go and leave for Australia and you don't come back, that's the only instance in that entire life that you won't oscillate.
Something in the world doesn't oscillate. Yeah.
When you go to the shops, you come back.
Yeah,
I love that.
When you blink, you open your eyes again. Everything.
So with that in mind, as you're just saying, with the folds oscillating and the sound waves oscillating in the vocal tract, everything is oscillating together and just creating this dance.
Yes.
In the vocal tract. So that's important. Benefit number 3.
Because tubes, and our vocal tract is a tube, tubes have places along them or can resonate sound waves at certain points along the tube, right? The longer the tube, the more places of resonance there will be, the more energy that tube can give a sound wave. All you have to do is, if you've ever got smashed on a night out and just sang in a traffic cone, quite likely. I have.
I know I've seen it. I filmed it. So.
Yeah. The straw is a similar thing to getting pissed and singing in a traffic cone. But no, the straw elongates the tube of your vocal tract, so it has more. It basically extends the areas of resonance. So it means you can capture the energy of more harmonic energy, which means that more harmonic energy is reflected back for that self-oscillation and for that vocal fold positioning. So. Because a lip trill can do a similar job in terms of reflecting back, but it can't add extra areas of resonance to boost that effect. Yeah. Hence why the straw is just second to none.
Yeah, great. And in all that reflection, it encourages the correct air pressures above the folds in order to push and pull the folds together. And so that's all good. We don't necessarily need to go into that right now, but we've summarised that extending helps the extension of the instrument. The shapes help with reflecting and also helping balance subglottal air pressure.
Yes.
Anything else just you want to add on to the? I mean, for me, I'll take that and I'm gonna use this the rest of my life. But anything else you want to add?
Well, yeah, for ailments especially, the pressure that builds. So the pressure builds all the way down the trachea, basically, from the lips because it's blocked. So that spreads apart the vocal folds, which means that they can still be in oscillation, that you can still be using them like in voice, but there's like a cushion of air between them, so they barely contact, which means that if there's been a vocal injury, surgery, rehab, inflammation, excessive singing and hoarseness, it's shown in research again by one of Ingo's associates, Kitty Verdolini, that it's more beneficial to use vibration of the vocal folds when recovering from anything like that. But it's the potential contact of those vocal folds that could be damaging, not the fact that they're being used. So the straw is a way of avoiding that. It's also a way of exploring high volume without getting too much contact on the vocal fold, so you can get used to the higher end of air pressure in your voice.
Yeah. If you were to just slam your folds together,
yes,
and then try and do that through the straw.
yeah. And it kind of gets dulled. And also for voices that are quite squeezed, that are quite tired and pressed together, which is a major vocal ailment, the intraglottal pressure, the pressure between the folds, can spread again the vocal folds apart to unpress them, unsqueeze them, and return a voice back to balance, back to that square shape, which ultimately the square shape leads to less lung pressure needed to create sound.
And
Directly
also,
efficient.
and encouraging that balance between the TA and CT.
For the richest harmonic possible.
Yeah.
So now what we could do with really getting into is what we can use this for and how to do it. So first of all then, so what could we use this for? What sort of scenarios?
Well, you mentioned a few of them already, so I don't want to bore everyone at home, but it's obvious. If it creates this beautiful environment, warming up, everyone should warm up. Warming down, everyone should warm down.
Underestimated warming down, so yeah, love that.
Vocal rehab,
Yeah.
used so much in vocal therapy. Anything new?
I think we said as well, exploring vocal extremes,
Yep.
exploring volume,
Range.
exactly. Keeping a stable larynx position. Again, the don't quote me bit comes out, but as we ascend and descend through the straw, it kind of breaks certain relationships between areas of resonance in the voice and harmonics that move through them. Essentially, like, this is the bare bones as to why larynxes raise uncontrollably half the time, right? So the straw really breaks that. It kind of very indirectly keeps the larynx from raising at certain points. It keeps it low and breaks that relationship, right?
Yeah.
So it's good for breaking that relationship.
Chord closure.
Chord closure.
Yep.
Brilliant for that, because again, you can explore that safely.
And especially just, there's a lot of this going on today. Easy. Especially in places where we will struggle to find chord closure
Yes.
in an efficient way.
Yes.
Normally higher notes.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And again, like, the elusive mixed voice.
Yep.
If you're looking for a mixed configuration of the vocal folds, then this is a very quick way to getting to it. But everything else is, after that, is trying to understand it on open vowels.
Moving away from the straw.
Moving away, because nothing is as good as when the straw is in the mouth. So, like, get over that bit. Yeah. Everything's harder from here.
But equally as well, I am just quoting Karen Tietze Cox here, just consistently. The muscle memory. We know that, right? We kind of know that anyway. But it's after using the straw for 5 minutes, when you do open out into song or into vowel, your body will hold on to those postures,
even if for a short time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can experience that, and then the perpetuating effect of feeling that for a short amount of time, and then again, and then that's what it should feel like, and then
you get the feedback, and then you can reproduce the situation hopefully better without the need of a straw in the future, right?
So I think we covered why, how, rammed it down people's throats.
But this bit's for people who've skipped ahead, isn't it?
Yeah. So we should probably put a time on this right at the start.
We'll put the timestamp.
What should you do if you want to use it, Chris?
Well, we got the standard ones to begin with.
Right.
You know, they were started on Ingo's first video, his viral video, which is amazing. But this is just to basically incorporate all of your voice in terms of pitch. So it's a siren from the very bottom to the very top.
Right.
And that's one. Just a quick point on this for people at home. It's not a quiet sound, particularly behind the straw. You hear some people doing it, it's like, and when if they were to take the straw away, it'd be like, and that's not the point, because that wouldn't generate a square shape of the vocal folds. It wouldn't generate the most efficient use, and you wouldn't be recruiting certain parts of your vocal fold fibre. So there has to be something present in the bottom. Some of that. And then taking that up, you're likely to feel a crack. Everyone feels a crack almost every time. That's your vocal break. That's the instabilities between registers that you're gonna have, but that will get smoother and smoother the more you do it.
And that's a great transition actually to the next one, which is descending.
Yes.
Because if you are in a situation where we have to engage that bottom end, and you might be in a situation where you can't break, where you can't crack.
Yes.
And it's just...
That's just taking so much of that modal register high, right?
Right. And so that's a situation where we know that that isn't the right way to go, so let's go from the top.
Yes.
And then use the straw for its benefit there.
Cool. And again, you might feel that go clunk again. Yeah, crash down. Good control, mate. I like that.
Embarrassing.
Screw it up on request. So that's really helpful. Show us the sirens as well. That's really great for exploring the
kind of jumpy hills.
Yeah, for exploring the volume and pitch as well.
Yeah, and I feel this is, in basic terms, is very much just a let's explore every volume and every pitch, right? And it's just, will my body catch on to some of those things on the way through, right? So yeah, just...
And they're kind of growing in volume and pitch. And it's kind of forte, but it's not like really busting your nuts about it.
Again, on the forte thing, if you're feeling like you're going forte, and it's...
is that with that as well?
Yeah.
Forte.
And it's too much and you feel like your eye's going to pop out your head, then you have to readdress something, because forte might not be the thing for you at that moment in time. Yeah. So you might have to pull it back.
Check the blood vessels, I'd say, during this.
We're talking ideally. In an ideal world, once everything is settled down, we're probably a bit more balanced. Then we're looking for a smooth transition up and down, no matter what exercise we're doing. And just to... being able to play around that airflow. But to begin with, it might just be we have to keep it either a little bit quieter or increase the storage, which we'll go into in a bit. But okay, so what's the fourth exercise? We've got we had the siren, we had the descents, and we had the hills.
Yes. And each one of those exercises, just for clarity, you would do them for a certain length of time, which we'll discuss in a bit, right?
Sure.
But then it's just down to get onto some melodies.
Sure.
Just so you can start to experience a mixed configuration or a balanced sort of vocal fold setting across different intervals that aren't just, in sequence or, travelling only upwards.
Yep, playing around.
Just to melody through it.
Should we come around the mountain?
No.
Oh.
Same intervals. No, that was change is going to come.
Okay.
So you can experience that for a minute or two. But another tip there is do you puff your cheeks or don't you? I find for very tense singers who are like that, to let the cheeks puff is to give in to oral pressure. And I often find for singers that means that the tension in the throat also just goes away, and the tension in the tongue or whatever goes away. However, some singers, myself included, I don't feel like I need to let my cheeks puff because the back of my throat isn't tensing or reacting to this new situation. So it's not a question of skill. I just think it's a question of, are you tense? Try a puffy cheek. Are you using this to polish your voice? Maybe an unpuffed cheek might work for you, but again, that's just empirical data. It's not really got any backing around it.
All right. So number 5.
So now we're on to auxiliary exercises, right? So these are ones that you can use the straw for to actually move things forward beyond the warm-up, possibly. The first one is laughing or giggling, and this is partly born from straw, partly born from SLT, speech language therapy techniques and stuff, to gain chord closure in a healthy manner, to kind of turn off and on, a little bit like a reversing truck as well.
Right.
So that you're oscillating your vocal folds, you're practicing the off and on a moving airstream. And because a laugh is very sort of, it's an emotional response, right?
Yeah.
And emotional responses in the voice
Try it.
usually get a really good result.
All I'm thinking is David Brent.
Yeah, I know.
No,
it's
everyone.
really bad, isn't it,
Yeah.
that scene?
Yeah.
But this one's really brilliant for developing strength in the chest voice muscles, so in the TA, and in the adductory muscles, but without cooking it too much. So if you take a laugh from the top, that's it. It's a bit like Santa would do it, you know, kind of like. And you know what? When you see someone laugh like that, and you monitor the note where they go to, like say a guys who say they have no range, they laugh down from high C, you know, with a strong sound, and that's the power of like primal sounds. So once you've got that laugh going on a few times, take it on an arpeggio, you know, that kind of thing. And then take it up and down the range, but keep fast, get faster. Because the more you slow down, the more like excessive tension in the muscle is probably going to be used.
Yep.
So you have to get that laugh just right. So it's nice and speedy, still rich and not too light. And at the tops, you just let them spin out. You just let them go wherever they want to go.
Cool.
And I've found that has been really helpful in training voices, just to be really agile and quite rich.
Cracker. Next.
Next one is messa di voce, which is basically just crescendo to diminuendo across 8 beats. So the straw helps you to explore that with less chance of injury and better vocal function on that. So to increase volume, you have to increase air pressure, but you don't necessarily have to increase chord closure or increase adduction. That's how unskilled singers would do it. Squeeze, as well as high air pressure. We don't want to do that, so to practice not doing that in the straw and just increasing airflow. And then just try that on different pitch ranges between in your chest voice up into your break. You know, you can try that across for like a few minutes.
It seems like the straw is allowing to train in that function.
Yes.
Because of what it does here.
Yes, and you'll notice the oral pressure, my cheeks started to puff because oral pressure grows because it would. More air is coming through, but I'm practicing to not go and go and squeeze it. So it's very good for that. What do you have then for that?
I mean, it's very straightforward, really. It would just be sustaining with vibrato on certain pitches. Can you just feeling around on certain pitches where you might need it? So again, choose your pitch, but often pitches where you would run into trouble in the upper registers.
Yep.
Right. So just. Anywhere. And just starting to just sit on those pitches, and just feel your. And I've because different pitches, different frogs, different times, right? Different pitches have obviously a different setting. You can often like be sustaining on one pitch and then move to the next and just feel like you've lost everything.
Yes, right.
In your life.
Yeah.
And
my house, my dog.
Yeah. Just spend some time readjusting, and that's a beautiful thing with it because you're not overdoing anything. You can spend some time just going. Where is it? Okay, there it is. And you just find your spot again, and you find a spot, and guess what? Next time you do it, you find it quicker.
Yeah. Do you do it like a Thunderbird all the time as well?
Did I just do that?
Yeah, you did.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
I know. Self-awareness, Steve. You're being filmed, right? But anyway, we should. How do you choose a straw? Real quickly. Arguably, the thinner the better. These are 3mm in diameter, which provides a lot of this reflection, the word inertance, if you want to go and look at that. But a lot of what we need is helped by the thinner the straw. However, some people aren't that comfortable with a thin straw straight away, especially if they use too much air to sing, or just are completely alien to the whole process and hate it. Hence why this straw, I think, is 4.3mm. Notice they're a similar length. They're both about 5 inches. That's quite a good length. Length is not as important as diameter.
Never.
But still relevant. So if the diameter is large, like a drinking straw, which none of these are, they're not that helpful, but they could be helpful. They have to be long though, if you're going to have a large straw. But yeah, if it's a thin straw, say 4 to 5 inches, is really good choice. If you don't have a larger straw, just take several thin straws and put them in.
The great thing is then you can reduce over time as well when things start to settle down a tiny bit.
Yes, because now I'm back down to this bad boy, and I've taken a journey.
Congratulations.
I was on these two before.
I had 5.
Yeah. So that's length and diameter. Now, what about actually using it? Time and all that?
So as Dr. Ingo states, don't do it forever. As in, 5 minutes is enough.
Yes.
People often ask, how long should I be doing it for? Because you could literally just spend it. But the benefit comes in very short practices. 5 minutes, but replicate that every hour.
Yes, that's right.
And then the magic comes in, like everything in life, time spent. So doing it 8 times a day for 5 minutes, 7 days a week for 52 weeks a year.
Okay, don't do any maths. We're singers, remember.
For long times, then you really will change. You will change your voice. You will change your voice.
That's true. And you know what? Someone might go, I can't do that 8 times a day. And it's like, honestly, you walk to the train station. In my case, I walk from the train, then the other train station to the studio, down to lunch, back from lunch, back to the train, back home from the train, right? I've even done it on the way to the gym. I could get 7 times in a day easily.
Easy.
Because you can do it in the street. Yeah. No one can hear you do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good point. And the effects of regular 5 minutes are insane.
But that said, the final point we just need to say is that it doesn't solve everything, unfortunately. Although we bang on about it, and we want to make this, we want to help Dr. Ingo get this out into the public domain. It doesn't solve everything, and in fact, if there are some issues, then it will hide that mask the issues for a few seconds. But if we are overblowing, if we do have too much tension, it will over time hopefully try and help that. But if we go out and then use the old habits again, then it's not going to work. Basically what we're saying is we need to use this in addition to a great vocal training regime.
Yeah, and at least this takes the bumps out the road for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So that you can practice better vowels and better breathing use or whatever.
And even on stage, because no one's really watching us when we sing. So because of the environment we sing in, so literally just after every song, just realign, readjust. Oh, that's where I am, because obviously it's loud when you're singing on stage.
Bad sound, all that stuff.
Often you just find yourself again in that moment. So use it often, but it's not going to fix everything, and don't do it for too long. And
and set yourself goals as well. Each one of those exercises we set out has a specific goal. Like sirening is balancing registers, laughing is generating chord closure up into the higher ranges and the lower ranges. So what do you want to train for that day, or that week and month.
Sweet.
So we'd love to hear from you guys about any questions about this. We've been using these for years and years with clients and ourselves, so there's a lot of experience between us from using them, but obviously a lot of information gathered from the horse's mouth. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you a horse.
We've got one last section here today, which is very relevant because we're using the straws to answer it. It's listener question time. Jingle.
Got one? No, didn't make one, did we?
Listener question time. We can use a straw to help this situation. Shall I read the question?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, listener question of the week.
I'll make one. Better than that.
Thank you so much for your amazing podcast. It's incredibly helpful and fun.
Be honest.
I'm 26. Slow blink. It's incredible. What? I'm 26 and I live and I sing for a living. I gig with a jazz group as well as a band that plays in a church, camps, conferences. I participated in multiple choirs in musical theatre from the beginning of high school through to 2 years of college, and I primarily sang as a first soprano. My tone was fairly light. Maybe a lot of people can relate to that, but definitely clear and strong. Occasionally I would experience biphonation, and this is the point, in my voice, which was incredibly frustrating as no one knew why it was there or how to tackle the issue. And there is virtually no advice online to tackle biphonation. Out of college, I began singing in a more pop rock singer-songwriter style and developed my mixed voice tremendously. And I didn't need the high soprano notes I worked out on in college. Recently, I've been working on expanding my vocal range and styles and discovered that my head voice is nearly gone and the biphonation is back in hideous spades. I met with a vocal coach who assured me I've been singing and belting in a correct and healthy manner, and I'm concerned to push through the head voice to develop it as I don't want to cause further damage. Here are a couple of videos. We're not sure if we can play them on here. If we're allowed, we haven't actually checked if we're allowed to do that yet. So if Hillary comes back and we're allowed to play them, you will see them right now, the videos of her singing and running through a scale. If not, we'll just continue. Forgive my long-windedness, but if there's any help, advice or exercise you can give, I'd be eternally grateful.
So what are your initial thoughts on that then?
Well, we went back to Hillary and we spoke about the biphonation, and first up we just got to ask the question, which we did, have you been scoped?
And biphonation is, just in brief,
two tones.
Two notes at the same time.
Two notes.
Which for vocal folds is not normal. We have to say that. Yeah. It's not quite normal, is it?
And so it can be a sign of a pathology, polyps, that kind of thing, because there's a disruption with the cycle.
Yeah, and it's where the vocal folds, or the tissue of the vocal folds, the left one is vibrating at a different speed to the right one.
Sure.
Hence we're getting two tones, and that, like Steve said, could be polyps, because polyps happen usually on one side.
Sure.
Whereas nodules are usually both sides.
Which would give the asymmetry.
Yeah.
And so on that though, I mean, obviously we spoke about the other causes of asymmetry.
Yes.
Which could be another sign. But on that scoping, obviously we asked her to get scoped, and she hasn't yet, but I think she's going to look to do that, because it's worth doing as a starting point.
Yes.
For all singers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
See where you're at. See if you're healthy, because if something does happen in future as well, you can always check back.
Yeah.
And see if there's any difference. But asymmetry.
Asymmetry, yeah. Everyone has a degree of asymmetry, a lack of symmetry in the vocal folds. But it's how much of that can be a result, or can lead to diplophonia, as they say, like two tones at one time. So an asymmetrical situation could be a physiological thing. It could be that person's level of asymmetry, or asymmetry can sometimes be a result of high tension. You know, when muscles are forcing the vocal folds together, possibly, and creating this asymmetry, like muscle tension dysphonia or something like.
Sure.
A lot of tension there, which could be a possibility, which is a technical thing as well. We've got to look at the whole thing of like changing styles, experiencing more biphonation. It's a red flag.
Yeah.
Going contemporary and ignoring head voice. It's got to be a red flag, right? Because belting is its own quality, but if you didn't go to your head voice or the top part of your voice in your training, even when training contemporary styles, then a part of the voice has been neglected. So we can't rule out the fact that some of that asymmetry and that tension could be the result of a lack of a available register. For her, probably the head voice again.
Yeah, and she's got a lovely voice. We said that, and it does seem that way, jumping from style to style, using the voice in a different way, and therefore, even the note that she sings, it's true. The word "true," that oo vowel on an A4. Hopefully, we can play it, but if not, that's where the diplophonia happens. So. So for us, you immediately just go, okay, can we change the vowel? Can we change the posture in order to create the right posture for that style? Because what she might be doing is, in this new style, trying to create a sound that the old posture doesn't allow for, especially on a vowel that isn't going to facilitate
Strength.
the correct posture.
Yeah, it's too close.
For that style. So opening the vowel and then encouraging less airflow and more efficient
Melting
pots.
Yeah.
Chord closure is going to be the thing, which is where your mate comes in. So we would suggest to Hilary, one of the first things you can do, obviously it'd be great to work with you and or work with your teacher at the time and talk about vowel shaping on those pitches, bringing the volume down, but using the straw on an A, sustaining with vibrato.
And if you get a clean sound, then you've got a way forward in training that.
Exactly.
Or at least figuring out what it is, but I think the scope is essential, isn't it?
Sure. So that hopefully helps in some way.
Yes. Well, that's us wrapped up for today. There is a supporting blog, which for this particular episode, being that it's like loads of information, would be useful to go to. So it's the nakedvocalist.com/podcast/42. Is that the episode we're on?
Got it, man.
42, the number 42. So go to that, review this a few times, take some of the information and write out a regime, but in any case, I'll put one in the blog, right?
Thank you.
But until next time, we'll just chill out, I guess.
Use a bit of the straw.
All right, do it 8 times a day, 5 minutes.
Take it easy.
Report back.